It is a Wednesday episode of Locked On Grizzlies, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is unguardable. At least that is what the great beat writer for the Memphis Grizzlies over at the Commercial Appeal, Damichael Cole, my co-host, says. We're going to talk about his article that went up yesterday over at the Commercial Appeal. Plus, was the NBA Cup a success? Probably not, in my opinion. Spoiler alert. Plus, a new All-Star Game model that our opinion on it might surprise you. All that and more on this edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Joe Mullinax, one of your hosts, joined by my co-host, Damichael Cole, as mentioned earlier, of the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee, award-winning Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for that publication. Make sure you're following him on X if you don't already do so, at Damichael C. Follow me at Joe Mullinax, and make sure you are liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing to Locked On Grizzlies wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. It is free, as we are free and available wherever you get those podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network. Friendly reminder that we have a free daily newsletter now. I got some number updates yesterday, Damichael, and oh boy, we are still number 7 out of 30 NBA teams in newsletter success, combining subscriptions with opening the newsletter and all these different metrics that the good folks that we work with the newsletter dish out. For us, as such a small market, to be number 7, that is so wonderful. So thank you to everybody that continues to pass the good news of the Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Again, it is free. Words from me each and every day. There's NBA analysis at large, the league at large. There's fantasy basketball. There's all sorts of roundups of articles and previous episodes of this show. So make sure you're going to LockedOnDaily.com, finding the Locked On Grizzlies tab, subscribing, getting Locked On Grizzlies content in your inbox each and every day. It was cool to see that update. Our numbers are staying strong with the newsletter. Damichael, your numbers, I'm sure, are staying strong. I don't have access to the Commercial Appeal data. They probably don't need to give it to me either. But I know that your writing game remains strong. You did a great job over at the Commercial Appeal yesterday. Well, it's easy when it's true. I have no idea what you're doing with Sierra and Goodies. You posted that yesterday on X, and I have to get more details on that from you once the article goes live at the Commercial Appeal. But anyway, Jaren Jackson Jr. has arrived, at Damichael C. on X says, as one of the NBA's dominant offensive forces. He's having the best offensive year of his career, and it looks sustainable. His teammates say he is unguardable. To quote Ja Morant, nobody can mess with a baby picture of him. Now, we need to start off, and again, if you're an everydayer of Locked On Grizzlies, this following statement is not going to surprise you. I have no idea what that means. Nobody can mess with a baby picture of him. Is that
it's just
you could enlighten your old, not cool Caucasian co-host and let him know what exactly that involves? It would be appreciated.
Yeah, it's just it's a little inner city kind of little phrase where it's basically just saying nobody can F with him. That's all. That's all he's saying. But Ja's speaking in front of the cameras and stuff. He just said they can't mess with a baby picture. That's a saying you used to hear when guys were just the best basketball player in the neighborhood.
I feel like there's a bootleg T-shirt opportunity there, like a baby picture of Jaren on a T-shirt. I'm sure you'd have to get his blessing for that.
Yeah, might collab with him. He's doing those collabs. So
there you go. But again, it was a great article. If you could just let people know, maybe they aren't subscribers. If they're not, they're messing up, and they definitely should subscribe to the Commercial Appeal. I am a subscriber almost solely for Damichael Cole's work at this point. Let folks know, what you wrote about, just a little bit of an overview, why you are saying, and why his teammates, more importantly, no offense, are saying that he is unguardable at this stage of his NBA career.
Yeah, we talk about the narrative stuff and some of those things on here, but at the end of the day, I like talking hoops. So I really love talking hoops in basketball and just some of the nuanced things. And when you watch Jaren Jackson Jr. play from year to year to year to year to year, you can't help but notice the improvement and the polish that is coming to him on the offensive end right now. I'm really big on picking out the best scorers in the league by who can get to their spots where they're comfortable and who has those spots. If you don't have spots that you can get to on the floor, you're not really one of the best scorers in the league to me. You're probably just playing off of talent. Like usually, guys, rookie year, first couple years in the league, they may average 21, 22 points, but there are not certain spots on the floor that they're just getting to. They're just out there. They're just reacting, scoring how they can score, getting shots. But when the game's on the line and there's 7 seconds left, I want the guy that's going to say, I'm going to get right there to the left elbow and I'm going to make this turnaround jumper right at the buzzer. You can't do that when you're a rookie unless you know how to get to your spot. So watching Jaren this season, Joe, he has spots. And why this is important, and I wrote about this in the story too, the difference, and you talk to any NBA player about this because I've talked to Dez extensively about it. I've talked to other guys. KD has talked a lot about it. When you are in the NBA and you have spots on the floor, there is no way to guard it. You can be heavily contested. At the end of the day, you're comfortable because these are the shots you can make pretty much with your eyes closed. You're getting to the spots you want to get to. Jaren, I wrote about 3 different shots in that story. The floater was one. I think that's the most popular one. As Scottie Pippen Jr. said in the story, it's his unstoppable move. Jaren can go over his left shoulder, and then he can make a right-handed, floater. Right. He can go over his right shoulder and make a left-handed one. He can do the same thing with the hook shots. I wrote about those. On both of those shots, I think it's 85 hook shots this year, 65 floaters, and he's above 50% on both of them. And then my favorite one is the bank shot, which we started to see more of this year. Have you noticed that, Joe? When he's going over his shoulder real quick and he's aiming it at the backboard when he's in that 6 to 10 foot area away from the basket. That's real repetition. You can't just, the backboard's right there, let me throw it at it and see what happens. That's a guy that has been working on his game. And we talk about him using his strength and things like that. It was a very detailed story to me because I've just been piecing all the things that he said this season together just about scoring. He's talked about having counters, right? There's certain situations like in that story, he talked about how when he's bringing the ball up the court, sometimes he knows that guys are going to sag off of him, which is why he's taking those those threes at the top of the key where he's shooting 39% on those shots right now. He's shooting 39% on those 3-pointers, which is above league average. I think league average is around 35, 36%. So he's talking about having that as a counter for guys going to the paint and sagging in on him and things like that. He's talked about how defenses tend to shift to the right on him. So he wants to have the spin move to counter that when he's driving to the basket. That's why we've seen him spin a lot of times to create scoring opportunities. So all of that is discussed in detail in the article. But the basis of the story is the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. has reached a level where it's not just physical gift. He's really smart. And he knows, hey, if the defense does this, I'm going to do that. I have this spot I can get to on the floor. I have that spot. I have this I can get to if the defense plays this type of coverage. That's a scary thing. That's something that only the best of the best scorers in the league can do. And he's becoming that type of guy for the Grizzlies.
Even the folks that were very high on Jaren Jackson Jr. coming out of Michigan State, we've talked about this a couple of times, how maybe he wasn't booed in 2018, but there was a groan in FedEx Forum when he was selected. Even those that were high on him, it was mostly because of his defensive potential, right? What he had shown at Michigan State as a defender, a rim protector, his versatility, his lateral movement, all the things that had the look of a future defensive player of the year, which is exactly what Jaren was. The ceiling for him was, and we've talked about this before as well, partner, Giannis light, right? And that is exactly what he looks like right now. I mean, Giannis played in the NBA Cup final, which we'll talk more about here in a moment. I'm not saying that he is Giannis because I think Giannis is kind of trying to reclaim that throne as best in the world. He's probably third behind Jokic and Luka right now. But Giannis has looked every bit dominant as he's ever been. In the way of getting Milwaukee back into the playoff conversation. I think they started 2-8 or something like that. And Milwaukee looks like a contender once more. I think that he is Giannis light now. And that is about as high of a compliment as you can pay him. The way that he's developed his offensive game. Obviously, it's different. Giannis is not as much of a 3-point threat. But where the similarity is is Giannis is like the Thanos of the NBA. He's inevitable, right? Like, you know what that dude's going to do, and you still can't stop it. Jaren's skill set is a little bit more diverse. He doesn't have the same athletic gifts that Giannis does, the combination of size and strength and speed. But he has more tools in the toolkit in terms of offensive scoring, and that is a pleasant surprise. I did not expect for him to become the true number 2 scoring option on this team. You know, we talk about Desmond Bane's struggles. I think you mentioned it yesterday. One of the major reasons for that, you could pretty easily argue, is Jaren.
Is he the number 2?
You can maybe argue he's number 1. I mean, Ja has certainly taken on more of the weight of the assists.
Ja's the number 1 playmaking option,
right? Absolutely.
But is he the number 1 scorer?
I think that's something. You talked about who you want the ball in their hands with 7 seconds left. For me, that's still Ja Morant.
Yeah, me too.
I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it. But it's certainly more of a conversation. And again, that is a testament to Jaren Jackson Jr.'s development. So it was an excellent piece over at the Commercial Appeal. Make sure you're checking it out over at Damichael C on X. Make sure you're finding it. Wonderful work, partner, as always. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, I mentioned the NBA Cup a moment ago. It's mercifully over. I'm going to be kind to Adam Silver in the NBA towards the end of the program. Not as kind about the NBA Cup. I have a feeling Damichael and I are going to disagree. Was the NBA Cup a success? We talk about that next here on Locked On Grizzlies. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Game Time. I love the holiday season. Going to shows, spending time with my wife. Our anniversary is during the holidays. It's a great chance for us to get out of the house, leave the germ-ridden children behind, and enjoy some memories being made, just husband and wife, going and checking out some great shows. Game Time is a wonderful way to find tickets for such events. You can use Game Time Picks, which makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. They have an all-in pricing feature that you can toggle on and see the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can also get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, as well as the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That's definitely happened for me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. It brings everything together all in one place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, even the goals that you want to hit in any given year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $5 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year while using all of the app's premium features. You have an opportunity to save a ton of money with Rocket Money. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Go and check them out. The NBA Cup is finally over, right? The Milwaukee Bucks and the Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe it was in the final. I didn't watch it. They played in the final, and, you know, it's a game that the stats didn't count. You know, you look up on your fantasy basketball team. I don't know if you play fantasy basketball, Damichael, but, you know, I have SGA on my fantasy basketball team. But it's saying that he's not playing a game on Tuesday night, although apparently there's a basketball game on.
Just curious. So that means you picked SGA over Ja, right?
I have both of them, actually.
Oh, okay. I tried to catch you slipping. I tried to catch you slipping.
I had both of them. And I have Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane. The team's name is the Memphis Miracles. We're doing pretty well so far this season. But anyway, I think that for me, and I'm not going to belabor the point too much, I did want to tie a little bow on the NBA Cup. A positive of the experience is it allows for teams to play for something early in the season. That's the entire point, at least that the NBA will say publicly, right? The real point is they're trying to get as much advertising money. How much stuff can they squeeze the financial juice out of here? I'm sure they had success in that way. The ratings, I think, were a little bit up compared to a regular season game. I know on Saturday night was the big semifinal event, almost like the Final Four in a way. And then you also had like professional wrestling. WWE Saturday Night's Main Event apparently had more viewers than the NBA Cup when you combine streaming and all this different stuff. And those numbers are disputed. There's all sorts of things that we could go into. This isn't locked on Nielsen ratings. The success of the NBA Cup, in your view, does it have more to do with the greater importance, the knockout stage? I will admit, as someone who hates the NBA Cup, the knockout stage is better than group play, right? Yeah. Like there's a suddenness, there's a playoff basketball energy. For me, when I watch NBA Cup play and people are like, oh, the group stage games are so intense, I don't see it. Maybe it's because I'm blinded by the stupid courts that they play on.
There's some problems there. Yeah.
I don't like the group stage, especially. I'll admit that the knockout stuff has been cool. And I know that there is, once the league expands, maybe there's an opening where they go to a March Madness kind of model for this. There's options and things they're going to flirt with. I know it's almost certainly with the new media deal going to look different. I think it all goes to Amazon for streaming next year. It's going to look different, is most people's guess. How do you feel about the NBA Cup now that it's gone and over, aside from relief, hopefully, like me?
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. I've always been kind of like meh on it. I just think, the fact that I'm meh and you're like, it's the worst thing in the world, it makes me look like I just love the NBA Cup. But at the same time, here's my thing. I think you make a good point about group play. And the thing about group play is I don't think we can, as a, speaking generally here, I don't think we can really just get too into it because we're in and out of it. It's like once a week. It's like, hey, this is the cup game for the week. You gotta bring it, extra intensity. Whereas take, the Maui Invitational or something, or college basketball like the Bahamas tournaments or all those tournaments. Like they're played within a week's time, and then you're out of there. So if it was something like, hey, this is NBA Cup week, or these next 2 weeks are NBA Cup week, and you're playing games every other day, or, you mix it in, you schedule it however you schedule it. But if you designate a certain part of the year just strictly to NBA Cup basketball, then I feel like we could buy into it a little bit more, because they're doing the right things, I think, Joe, from a pushing it standpoint. The media, I mean, I get the messages and the emails. Like they're doing like media scrums for pretty much all the players, the coaches. It's getting like All-Star Weekend, NBA Finals, type media push from not from the TV coverage and whatnot, but just from they're inviting all the national media to these events. So it's getting the push that it needs, is my point. I just think it's hard for the casual fan to just buy into just all of a sudden you're turning on like, okay, this is a cup game, here we go. But that's why I also agree with the point that the knockout stage is a little bit better, because the knockout stage, you have a little bit more consistency in the cup games and who's playing who, and hey, if this team wins, this team does this. Whereas in the group stage, you got to do math. So it's a little bit different, but I mean, I still, I like the idea of adding, the cup into the regular season. I didn't at first. If you go back when we first talked about it, I did not like it at first. But now that it's happened, like Taylor Jenkins, for example, he's embraced it. He just casually brings it up sometimes when we're talking. He'll say something about, wanting to win cup games. And I know next season, for example, it'll be a bigger deal for the Grizzlies, because it'll be potentially, knocking on some wood here, it'll be potentially the first time they could have Ja Morant for the beginning of a cup play. And, he's only played, two cup games, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, he's only played 2 cup games out of 8. And the Grizzlies are 1-1 when he's played, and they're 0 in the ones that he didn't play. So maybe next season they'll feel like they have a realistic chance to win the thing. But yeah, I think that's the next step for me. If they can kind of boggle this up into 2 weeks, maybe 3, and say, hey, it's cup time, and everybody can buy into it. And the court stuff, it doesn't really move me. Did you see the Steve Kerr quote about playing on the Rockets court, about going into the depths of hell? Like it's
that's exactly what it looked like. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Yeah.
No, I think you're onto something with it being all at one time, right? Like maybe middle to end of November, lump it with Thanksgiving. Stop taking it on the chin when it comes to the NFL. NFL's intruding on Christmas Day on Netflix now. Why don't you go to Thanksgiving? Why don't you have a semifinal the Friday after
bullies,
Thanksgiving?
Man. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do
but
that.
I like the idea of like having host cities, right? Like have Los Angeles, Vegas, Houston, New York, Miami, the places these players want to be anyway, right? If you're going to make them be somewhere for 2 weeks, and a lot of the money for the league at this point is in this new fancy media deal, hype up the television. Maybe the ticket sales aren't as good as you'd like them to be, but hype up the TV, have these pods go to a place for a week. They stay there, they play their games, and then they go to whatever the, Chicago or wherever you want it to be, Vegas. And that's where the championship, the semifinals or a tournament is held, and everybody else gets those couple of days off, and then they play games against each other. I feel like there's a better way to organize it if you're going to do it. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up. Was the NBA Cup a success for you? I didn't hate on it in this segment as much as I thought I would. And I'm going to keep that positive energy going with the end of the show. Believe it or not, I will not feel as old and washed talking about the new All-Star Game model. I'll explain what I mean by that here coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Damichael, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here. Who do your Packers have this week?
Saints, easy work.
Saints,
easy work.
Okay.
Minus 900 on FanDuel right now.
Oh, there you go.
Minus 900.
Well, it makes you nervous if you're a Commanders fan. That Saints game is not great.
Yeah.
So the Packers should pull that off, right? Maybe you got a hunch that they're gonna blow past the spread. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by BILT Rewards in particular. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to BILT, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. You can earn valuable BILT points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost, accessing unique experiences that are exclusive to BILT members with over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program. Start earning points on rent that you're already paying. Go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our link so that they know we sent you. Do not wait. Go to Built today and start earning your rewards. What are you waiting for? Go to Built. joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Closing out today's show with the new All-Star Structure, right? New format for the All-Star Game. And again, this is from Damichael Cole's X account at Damichael C. 24 NBA All-Star selections divided evenly into 3 8-player teams. The 4th team is from the Rising Stars Championship. There's going to be team general managers from TNT, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, Candace Parker. Barkley, O'Neal, and Smith draft their pools. Parker is going to be the GM of the Rising Stars champion. 2 teams will meet in the first semifinal. The other will meet in the second. The winning teams play in the championship. Then the winner of each game is the first team to reach or surpass 40 points. I'm going to surprise some people, I think, Damichael. I don't hate this. All right, I don't hate this. It's not traditional by any stretch of the imagination, but the difference for me between this and the NBA Cup is the NBA Cup is centered around, except for the championship, which again is one of the dumbest things that is part of it. The NBA Cup is centered around regular season records, right? Those games, except for the title game, matter in terms of actually making the playoffs, your seeding, that sort of thing. The All-Star Game is an exhibition. It's always been an exhibition. Why not try something a little bit different? Now, the one part of this I don't like, Damichael, we talked a little bit about this before the show. I think the Rising Stars champion gets smoked, right? Like, I don't know that I love them being involved. I feel like they're going to lose.
Zach Edey going against Nikola Jokic. Come on.
Yeah, okay. I like Zach Edey, but that's not going to end well for Zach Edey, at least not this season. I think that hilarity is going to ensue. I love the inside the NBA crew, just like everybody else does. I think that that's a good touch. They're going to have fun with it. I do think it breeds a little more competition, or at least it has a lane for competition. The games are shorter. I think that it allows for the game to display the best talent in the league and the future of the league. That's their goal. Again, maybe this is a bit of an upset because I'm definitely the old man of our show here, but I don't hate this new idea.
Yeah, I think the idea has definitely gotten some blowback from people not liking it because I've seen, I saw Kevin Durant, kind of talk about it a little bit too. Some people just want to go East-West traditional, but guess what? There's nothing traditional about going East-West anymore because they're not playing defense like the old East-West games. And I'm like, there was I think on Tyrese Halliburton and those guys' podcast, kind of a play off of the old JJ Redick one, the old man in the three, the young man in the three podcast. They had Barack Obama on there, and he said that he looked Tyrese Halliburton in the eye. He just told him, "I'm not going to watch the All-Star game anymore until guys start playing, a defense." And you should have seen Tyrese Halliburton's face because he couldn't really say anything because it makes perfect sense. But I think that was just kind of a general feeling, from the fan. Like, of course, you want to see some nice dunks. You want to see the Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, half court 3-pointers and stuff like that. But I mean, All-Star MVP has become a meaningless award. I always say the All-Star MVP is just the guy who says, "Hey, I'm going to shoot the most shots at this point," because all you got to do is go to the rim, lay it up. No one's going to really try to block you. There's no LeBron James trying to do a chase down block. So if you just keep doing that, you find yourself at 40 points hoisting up the trophy like you just shot a fadeaway over, LeBron and KD in double coverage or something. But yeah, I think you brought a good point. Now that it's 8 players on each team, it's shorter, with the going to 40 points. That should breed more competition. If that doesn't, Joe, I actually like the idea. This might be where we disagree a little bit. I like the idea of putting the rising stars in there because who's going to play some defense?
The rising stars are going to play some defense.
Oh, you better believe they ain't about to come out here and try to look cool. If Jalen Wells is out there and he's got, I don't know, LeBron or Luka in front of him, he ain't about to be trying to just, hey, go get it, LeBron, you got it. No, Jalen Wells going to get in a defensive stance. He's going to guard. And then they're going to get the ball on the other end, and they're going to try to actually run some stuff, get the open shot, and win. And I think that's when pride's going to kick in for NBA All-Stars. You don't want some rookies and second-year guys to show you up. So then, of course, they're going to play a little bit more competitive basketball. But that's just my thoughts on how I think it'll go. I've been surprised before. Maybe they convinced the Young Bucks to tone it down a little bit. But that's what I'm expecting. So I'm okay with it. Look, I just want to see good hoops, man. Like this thing is just I haven't even watched full All-Star game in years. Like I was at the one. Well, I was at a couple, but I didn't go last year for 5 years. Well, this year, 5 years reasons. And then I didn't go in Utah because of some family things. And then the year before that, I went, and it's like it was whatever. So I haven't really watched the full All-Star game in a long time. Like I enjoy the Saturday more than the Sunday now. Which is wild, but that's where we are.
I think that you make a great point on the young guys being in there, almost to kind of spark the competitive nature of the veteran all-stars. That's a very fair point. This has an opportunity, and again, I can't stress enough how much I hated the NBA Cup. I feel the opposite this way, to be completely true. I'm with you. I'm excited for this all-star experience, the Sunday. Yeah. More than I've been in a long time. I think that it's unique in a good way. And again, the difference for me, it's an exhibition. Who cares, right? You're supposed to be exhibiting, you're showing off the talent and the best players in the league. It doesn't have to look like a game. They're not going to play it like a game anyway. If they play it like a first quarter and a half, you can expect them to play with a little bit more effort. At least you should, in theory. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity here for this to be pretty interesting. Let Damichael and I know. Again, hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on X at Damichael C, at Joe Mullinax. How do you feel about the new All-Star game model? And again, thank you to Damichael for retweeting that, reposting that new All-Star format over on your X account. When we are back together, it'll be the Thursday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. And Damichael, wouldn't you know it, finally Memphis Grizzlies basketball to talk about once again. The Grizzlies take on the Golden State Warriors. Going to be an interesting game. Golden State making moves, right?
Somebody
Somebody
Dennis
that
Schroeder's in the building.
the
You know,
guy
this thing he's
again.
probably going to start. I love that.
Again, the Grizzlies are going to have to deal with this guy. So it's going to be interesting to watch that game unfold, and it'll be fun for you to see it, of course. And we'll break down that game from all angles, I'm sure.
Yeah, can't wait. I want to see if he's actually going to jump out the gate start. Now that he's there, they've had a couple practices because when he came, the trade happened at a good time for them. So you get a couple practices under your belt. I wonder if they're going to throw him straight in the starting lineup, because that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Fun is a word. Literally just saw
it'll be
Dennis Schroeder
entertaining.
recently. Entertaining. Yeah, it'll be a good basketball game, I think. Whenever Golden State and Memphis get together, there's a little bit more fire, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Make sure you're checking us out there. Make sure you're checking out our free daily newsletter, LockedOnDaily.com. Make us a part of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies consumption, not just in podcast form, but also in daily newsletter form. It's all free as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. For Damichael, I'm Joe. We will catch you back here tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, have fun, enjoy your last day without Grizzlies basketball. The NBA Cup is finally over, brother. Let's rejoice. Back to normal. Catch you next time.